Rose Hall Great House. It's kinda hard to describe it without sounding like a tourist brochure, you know? But seriously, imagine a massive Georgian-style mansion sitting on a hilltop, overlooking miles of turquoise Caribbean waters. That's what George Ashe built in the 1770s, right in Montego Bay, Jamaica. And this wasn't just any house. This was colonial wealth on full display. So, check this out. The house was made with limestone, which they dug up locally. Smart, yeah? Limestone was tough, durable. It stood up to the elements but also had this polished, almost regal appearance. Talk about building for function and flexing your wealth at the same time. The estate itself was massive, like ridiculously huge, 6,600 acres in total. We're talking sugarcane fields stretching as far as the eye could see, a sugar mill to process it all, and all these little buildings scattered across the property that kept the plantation running. Back in Jamaica's colonial days, sugar was big money, and Rose Hall became a kind of symbol of that economic power. Then in the early 1800s, this Englishman named John Palmer comes into the picture. He buys Rose Hall, expands it even more, and makes it even richer. And that, you probably guessed it, is where Annie Palmer eventually steps in to claim her role in the house's dark and twisted legend. Alright, let's talk about the star of this haunting tale, Annie Palmer, or, as she's kind of famously known, the White Witch of Rose Hall. And, oh man, her story's the kind of stuff that makes this place legendary, chilling, and just plain bizarre. So, Annie wasn't originally from Jamaica. She was born in Haiti, which is where things get interesting. They say she learned voodoo there, picked it up from her nanny after her parents passed away. Now, what's real and what's fiction here kind of blurs, but the legends make it sound like Annie had a complete mastery of those dark arts by the time she stepped foot in Rose Hall. Like a real-life villain origin story, right? She marries John Palmer, and then, mysteriously, he ends up dead. Coincidence? Maybe, but wait, there's more. She remarries, twice. And, guess what? Both those husbands also die under some very fishy circumstances. It's almost like being married to her was the definition of a death sentence, you know what I mean? But Annie's reputation isn't just about her ill-fated husbands. According to the tales passed down, not gently I might add, she terrorized the enslaved people on the plantation like something out of a horror movie. Voodoo rituals, brutal punishments, even rumors of her taking lovers from the enslaved men, only to have them killed when she got bored. I mean, just wow. And here's the thing, a part of why Annie's legend became so over the top, it's got to be tied to colonial era dynamics. You've got this wealthy white woman in a position of unchecked power, but she's living in a world shaped by racial and gender hierarchies. So when the stories of tyranny and cruelty come out, they explode into this larger-than-life myth that mixes fear and fascination. It's wild how much of that lingers in our storytelling even now. So by the 1960s, Rose Hall wasn't exactly the grand estate it used to be. I mean, the place had pretty much fallen into ruins by then. Overgrown, neglected, just a shell of its former self. Enter John Rollins, an American entrepreneur, and his wife Michelle. They decide to buy it and basically bring it back from the dead. Fitting, right? But it wasn't just about slapping on some fresh paint and fixing the roof. No, they went all out. The restoration was hardcore, meticulous, staying true to Rose Hall's Georgian design while giving it this refreshed elegance. Picture this, mahogany-paneled rooms, marble floors polished to perfection, and that iconic grand staircase back to its full glory. It's like they wanted to preserve not just the history, but the very aura of the place. Kind of an interesting choice for a house so tied to spooky lore. Speaking of spooky, let's get into what makes Rose Hall more than just another restored mansion. Annie Palmer might be long gone, but folks say her spirit definitely stuck around. Yeah, I know. Paranormal vibes galore. Visitors have reported all kinds of eerie stuff, random cold spots, unexplained noises, even sightings of a woman in a white or green dress floating around. You know, just your average Caribbean getaway. And get this, there was even an instance where someone snapped a photo of the grand staircase, only to find a ghostly figure in the picture. I mean, imagine going home, looking at your vacation photos, and seeing that. Nightmare fuel, right? But beyond the ghosts, Rose Hall's legend hasn't just freaked people out, it's inspired them. Books, songs, even films have been pulled into Annie Palmer's orbit. Bob Marley himself wrote about the White Witch. And tourism? Oh yeah, the irony of a haunted plantation being one of Jamaica's top sightseeing spots isn't lost on me. People are just drawn to the mix of history, mystery, and, let's be honest, a dash of fear. Rose Hall keeps this unique balance, though. It's like a time capsule where you can see the grandeur of Jamaica's colonial past while also feeling the weight of its darker stories, including the ghosts that, apparently, never left. And I guess that's the haunting legacy of Rose Hall, a place where history and legend kinda coexist, echoing through its halls to this day. On that note, we'll see you next time, and maybe keep that camera ready if you ever visit.